any target, anything is fine. If you can identify the gap between the target and performance, anything is fine to start building the strategies. Okay? As a student, you got allowances, you got the pocket money from your parents every month. And then you spend most of your allowances buying a lot of different things, right? Buying books and buying some snacks and buying some food and subscribe some cartoons and paying for some mobile phone bills and a lot of things. And you may think that you want to save some money from your allowances to buy something in 1 year. Maybe you want to buy a big present for your parents, or you want to buy something very expensive for yourself or for your friend. So anything is fine. So you have a desire to save some money from your current allowances. So in that case, you may think about what are the best ways to pursue to save the money to buy something in 1 year. In that case, how much is your desired target? So the target might be, okay, I want to save $30 per month, every month. How much is your current performance? In some cases, students are saving some monies from your allowances. So some students may say, okay, I am saving $20 per month right now. And then what is the gap you have to close to achieve the target numbers? It's only $10. Okay? But to other students who cannot actually save any money at all from the allowances, the gap is $30, right? The desired amount I want to save is $30, but current performance is $0. And then the gap is the differences between desired target and current performance. So you want to save $30. That's the gap I want to pursue. And then that's a starting point to build how to save the monies. After the gap is identified, you may think about a lot of alternatives, right? A lot of strategic alternatives. And we can cover how to disaggregate a lot of different options strategically, and we can cover that issue in the later of this class. That's the step number 2, logic tree and BC, and I'll also introduce the concept of the BCG matrix. But at this first stage, we still focus on specifically defining the gaps. Okay, so if you want to save the money, so $30 amount is the gap in the first step of building the business strategies. Or if you are a student attending the English class and your desired target is, I want to get 100 perfect score in my next English exam. But your current performance is might be 60 point in the previous English exam, or 70 score point in your English exam. And in that case, the gap is 100 perfect score minus 60 or 70 scores you got in your previous exams. So that's the gap you want to fill out, you want to close. So think about a lot of different cases where you have an interest and where you want to analyze. You may also think about this kind of the classes, this kind of the issues or the problems. You are going to the dining hall of your school every day for lunch, and when you visit the school cafeteria, and you may see a long line of the students waiting to have the lunch. And today is Monday and it's rainy, and the line is exceptionally long. And then if you are a person with curiosity, without the curiosity, you may just simply complain that, okay, today the line is too long, and then I'd rather not come to the school cafeteria for lunch, especially on Monday in a rainy day. But if you are a person with curiosity, and if you are a strategic person, and you may want to analyze the reasons why the line is so long on Monday lunch, and then you may try to collect some of the data. What are the reasons? And then you can also think about the potential solutions, starting from listing a lot of strategic alternatives and then evaluating those alternatives based on some criteria. Okay, so in that case, you may set the gap to fill out as follows. Okay, my desired target is everybody can have the lunch. Everybody do not have to wait on Monday lunch more than 30 minutes. But your assessment of the current situation is that everybody is waiting for 1 hour. So something you want to, the gap between your target and the current performance you want to close is 30 minutes, okay? Because your desired target time is 30, waiting time is 30 minutes, but you are currently waiting time at this point is the 60 minutes. So the gap is 30 minutes. That is 60 minutes minus 30 minutes. So that's the gap you want to close. So once the gap is identified, you may think about a lot of strategic alternatives to effectively close the gap, to build the strategies. So identifying the gap, that is always the first step, always the first step of developing strategy. Okay, So once you have identified the gap between your desired level and the current performance, now let's move on to the next topic. Okay. The next topic in building business strategy is list strategic alternatives. When listing strategic alternatives, BC and issue tree analysis are quite powerful tools for listing strategic alternatives. And during this class, I will also introduce BCG Matrix as well. Okay, again, this is 5-step process for building business strategy. The first step was identifying the gap, and so we did the gap analysis in the previous class. Now it's time to focus on listing strategic alternatives. So in listing strategic alternatives, BC and issue tree analysis are required before analyzing all the external and internal factors. Okay? In order to list up strategic alternatives, conducting issue tree analysis is required. You may remember that logic tree is quite useful. What's the difference between logic tree and issue tree? It's the same. It's identical. Issue tree means the issues are listed in the shape of the tree, and the logic tree means issue trees are listed in a logical sequence. So in that sense, logic tree and issue tree is quite identical concept in listing up strategic alternatives. So if you see on your left-hand side chart, there is a top issues, and then this top issue is divided into sub-issues, and each sub-issues are divided again to the smaller sub-issues. So the disaggregating top issues into small issues, it looked like a tree shape. That's why we call disaggregating the issues into the small issues, we call it issue tree, right? So the tree on your left-hand side is identical with the shapes on your right-hand side. Top issues are divided into sub-issues, and sub-issues are again divided into the smaller sub-issues again. So we call it issue tree because the shape of the chart look like a tree shape. So this is an example of listing strategic alternatives to increase sales of my business using BC and the issue tree tools. So I want to increase my sales volumes. So that's the case. That's the something I want to tackle. But as I have emphasized a couple of times, instead of simply saying increase sales volume. You'd rather specifically mention, I want to increase my sales volume by 1 million, from 3 million to 4 million in 2021. So describing the big issues or problems in quantitatively will help you to understand more clearly what the actual problem is. But for the sake of the explanation, okay, I simply put increasing sales volume in the box of the problem statement. Okay, so the problem I want to tackle is increasing sales volumes. What are the ways to increase sales volume? There are a lot of ways to disaggregate these issues, but I prefer to disaggregate into two options. One is focus on selling new product, and the other option is focus on selling existing products. But if you see those two options are mutually exclusive, right? Selling new product and selling existing products are mutually exclusive options each other. There's no overlaps between those two options. And also, if we pursue either selling new product or selling existing products, there's nothing left without being addressed. So collectively, those two options are exhausting the entire problem of increasing the sales volumes. So when disaggregating the big issue into small issues, try to focus, try to think very seriously whether those two options are based on the concept of the MIC, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Once you have disaggregated big issues into small issues, and then you can go disaggregating the issues into one level deeper. So focusing on selling new products can be disaggregated to another two options. One is focus on selling new products to new customers, and focus on selling new products to existing customers. So selling to new customers and selling to existing customers are mutually exclusive options each other, and also those two options are sufficient to cover the entire issue of focusing on selling new products. If we look at another option of increasing the sales volume, that is focus on selling existing products, there's two different ways. One is focus on selling existing products to new customers. The other option is focus on selling existing products to existing customers, right? So the big issue of increasing sales volume might be disaggregated into 4 different strategic alternatives. After presenting strategic alternatives, and then if we just analyze each one of the 4 different strategic options, it's easier for us to analyze than analyzing very complicated and sophisticated problem of increasing sales volumes as a whole. So that's the beauty of using issue tree in BC way. Okay? There may be a question, is this the only way of listing up the strategic alternatives? That means dividing, disaggregating the big issues into two other small issues based on the products, whether it's new or not, and then divided it into whether we will sell this one to the new customers or existing customers. No, that is not the only answer of issue tree. You may choose a lot of different strategic alternatives, but without knowing some context, we have no idea what's the best way of disaggregating the issues. So the tip of drawing a good issue tree is that, number one, there is no magic way of drawing the issue tree. So number two, exercise is the best way to master of drawing the good issue tree. And then working as a team is another way of drawing a good issue tree. Everybody may have different perspectives in approaching or tackling the problems. So try to draw your own issue tree first, and then show your own issue tree to your team members. And you also get your team members' issue tree for a review and have a discussion, have an open discussion. And by doing that, you can leverage a lot of different perspectives from other team members in drawing good issue trees. So I encourage you to try to draw the issue trees as much as possible.